this is the real news. With February 26th right around the corner, Chicagoans are left wondering, who will be the next alderman?
I-Team investigator Champ Bennett is here with a Chicagoist exclusive on next February's aldermanic elections.
Greetings, faithful viewers. I'm Champ Bennett with yet another Chicagoist TV exclusive. Today, we will look into something so grand, so mysterious, so important. Today, we will look into the aldermanic elections of Chicago. What does it take? How does it work? And most importantly, what is an alderman? Let's ask the American people and find out. What does your alderman do for you?
Take care of the people and give back to the community.
No idea what he does.
Make sure the community is using the money that they are receiving appropriately.
Safety things?
Safety things.
Police
Things.
station?
Personally, I'm not sure because they don't do nothing for our neighborhood.
No one here seems to know what's going on. And with so much fake news in the world, it's time to find the truth. Let's sit down with the longest serving alderman of Chicago, Alderman Al Derman. What are the responsibilities of an alderman and how do you take care of the people of the 51st Ward?
It's a lot that goes into my job. We honor our police and firefighters and city council. I take care of them potholes on the west side, permits, block club parties, awnings, liquor license. If you want to start a bar, you want to get a liquor license, you got to pay me off. People call my office about those boots on their car. It's not my fault you didn't pay your parking tickets. Now your Altima has a canary yellow Timberland. Pay your damn parking tickets. That's a different department than me. Wish they put 4 on your goddamn car. Pay your tickets. Shit.
Hi, remember me from the beginning? Yes. This is still the real news, and Alderman Derman's not far from the truth. A Chicago alderman has a broad range of responsibilities and considerable amount of power.
Aldermen can okay traffic closures for block parties and parades. They can weigh in on the issuance of liquor licenses. They can prevent businesses from breaking ground through zoning powers. You can apply for something and they can say no. They can say yes. They can say maybe. They have the power.
Don't forget about my menu money.
Aldermen are given about $1.3 million each to spend on their ward for capital improvement projects, like sidewalk repairs, fixing street lights, and filling those tire puncturing potholes. But this money is used at the alderman's discretion. That means they choose how and when they want to spend it.
I'm waiting on the next bag. Vote Derman.
How many wards are in Chicago?
$21.
That question I do not know.
I have no idea.
Do you know what ward you live in?
No, I do not.
So you probably don't know how many wards there are in Chicago.
That's correct, I do not.
Let's say 26.
26.
It's like 50-something, I think.
No idea. I would say at least 100.
At least 100.
Can you define ward?
No, I cannot. These people had no clue. So I started researching and found out myself there are 50 aldermen governing 50 wards. But what is a ward? What do they do in the ward? And why are they shaped so funny? Still baffled by the nuances and intricacies of this aldermanic system, I decided I needed to talk to the experts. Why is the map of the wards drawn the way it is? It doesn't seem to make sense.
It's often in the interest of that aldermanic office or the aldermanic ward. They want a piece of a certain community, so they'll get their individuals to redistrict or rezone that specific area. Like Inglewood, we have five aldermen that touch the greater Inglewood community, and that becomes a problem because who's making the decisions for these communities?
Redistrict? What does that mean? Redistrict?
So once every 10 years when the census is done, the city of Chicago as well as other local governments get to redraw the maps. And what we saw in the last election, to add to her answer, is we sometimes see wards drawn to punish aldermen who aren't following the mayor's wishes, and we saw that in the second ward in the last redistrict.
You heard of happy wife, happy life?
Yes, it's an old idiom.
They lied. It's happy mayor, happy alderman. Now my life is good, and I've been divorced 5 times, Anyways, I got nothing to do with that. My career is great. My personal life is in shambles.
What about police settlements? I hear Chicago aldermen okayed over about $700 million in police misconduct in 15 years, including judgments, settlements, and outside legal fees, according to city records.
Who you work for again?
The Chicagoist, the publication that will eventually run this town.
You have to check with the finance committee. I'm chair of all the committees except that one. They deal with all the police and money stuff. If it's corrupt, I don't deal with it. I just vote yes. I'm part of the Just Vote Yes caucus. Any piece of legislation comes my way, I just vote yes. Yes. I don't even look at it. Just vote yes.
Wait a
yes.
minute.
Look, yes.
Wait
yeah.
a minute.
What's that? Yeah? Yes. Yes. Ah, yes.
Whoa,
yes.
whoa.
Yes.
What does city council have to do with all this?
See.
And what's
Yes.
a committee?
Where legislation goes to die.
Chicago's aldermen make up Chicago City Council, which is currently composed of 17 committees. Committees are the grunt of where legislative activity takes place. This is where committee members debate on each proposed legislation. Each committee has a chair who is responsible for the committee meeting agenda. Therefore, committee chairs have control over which legislation is even considered. Committee jurisdiction, memberships, and appointments all require city council approval. As Alderman Al says, police settlements take place in the finance committee of city council.
Ah, the caucuses. Yeah, well, I'm part of the Black Caucus. We the real gangsters. There's also the Latino Caucus, the LGBTQ Caucus, the Progressive Caucus, the Fancy Suit Caucus. I'm also part of that. The Vegan Caucus, the Harold Soper Remus Caucus. I mean, it depends on the Harold's location. I guess generally, Harold's is better than Uncle Ring. It's a West Side, South Side thing. It's all types of caucuses. Your little brain couldn't really understand how many caucuses there are. It's a very complex underworld of caucuses.
So, caucuses are blocks within city council. There's a Black Caucus, the largest caucus with its 18 members consisting of all the Black aldermen, a Latino Caucus with 12 Latino aldermen, a Progressive Reform Caucus with 12 aldermen, LGBTQ Caucus with 5 aldermen. It's arguable that these formal caucuses are for optics and symbolism rather than meaningful voting blocks. They're virtually insignificant when it comes to reviewing legislation on taxes, pensions, or TIF dollars. It would seem that maybe they're not in cohesion at all. Well, Alderman Durman, do you believe that age factors in your position in city council? I mean, you're obviously pretty up there in age.
Nah, listen, I'm 75 and I've been in office since the 60s. The people voted for my dad, he croaked, then the mayor appointed me. And I just keep winning elections, baby. Back to 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 back. I just been on the road. Hell, I've been an alderman longer than I haven't. I see these young ones come and go, and they go and they come, and they come and go. What was your question again?
Well, does age bear significance in how you govern?
Absolutely. You need experience. You don't want a young, experienced, rambunctious little person coming in with their new ideas and innovations, trying to get in our city council and disrupt a good thing going.
The average age of an alderman is 53 years old, 2 years from being considered a senior citizen. The oldest member of city council has been holding office since 1969. That's almost 50 years. But why are the aldermen that make up city council so old? Who represents youth voices within city council? And are there any obstacles for young candidates?
Young people face obstacles for the most basic things, so let alone run for office. It's hard to get an education. It's hard to get basic services. So running for office is incredibly difficult. The system is set up so that only the people who have resources and connections can actually make it into those spaces.
I think it's really, really hard if you don't have the financial means to back yourself up.
There's also the issue of respect, especially as a young person. We constantly have to fight to build relationships and build political connections in a place where we're starting from scratch.
Civics was removed from many of the curriculum throughout Chicago Public Schools, high schools. So not understanding the infrastructure can also be generational too.
In order to run for alderman, you must be at least 18 years old. You must live in your ward for at least 1 year before the date of the election. You cannot owe any debt or taxes to the city of Chicago. You cannot have been convicted of a felony. You must collect the correct number of signatures from registered voters to appear on the ballot, which changes before each election and is based on population.
1 in 4 candidates who run for office in Chicago will be knocked off the ballot.
And they're knocked off because they don't have the set amount of petitions, or is it?
Tons of ways to be knocked off the ballot. It's signatures. It's if you owe a dime to the city, you can be knocked off the ballot. Sometimes you may not live in the area that you say you live in, and that's another reason. If you don't number the pages of your petitions or you don't bind them properly, there are a lot of very small technical things that can get you knocked off the ballot.
I could have the set amount, 473 or whatever the amount of petitions for my ward that I need, and still not technically have enough to end up on the ballot.
So when I ran, I submitted the required number of signatures. My opponent said that I had 2 valid signatures on my petition, and when I went through the process, I ended up having enough to make it on the ballot. But sometimes it costs at least $5,000 typically to retain a lawyer and just go through that process. So if you don't have the expertise within your team to deal with these signature challenges, it's almost a lost cause.
Wow, that shit sounds racist. What chance do young people have in actually governing their own ward?
So do you want my hopeful, idealistic, what we're working for answer, or like realistic, like right now? Depending on where they live, very little. And it's not just about young people. It's like, what chance do any of us that are not currently the aldermen or in charge of our local party have of governing our ward? And in our 50 different wards, there are 50 different answers.
The lack of knowledge and awareness of how to run a successful campaign, particularly in a city like Chicago. We need more support from older generations that have been through the process, that have determined and committed to running campaigns independently.
One of the largest obstacles that prevents anyone, especially young people, from pursuing public office is big money in politics.
We're not going to raise as much money as incumbents. That would be impossible.
If you don't mind me asking, how much did you make at your personal job last year?
I was broke last year.
I only made a couple thousand.
Last year, I made $46,000.
How much money does an alderman make?
Legally or illegally?
No idea.
Would you like to know how much an alderman makes?
Sure.
Me too. On average, an alderman's annual salary is around $116,000. But aldermen can also hold outside jobs or even own their own businesses. This money, along with campaign donations, make up a candidate's war chest, which are financial resources used to run for re-election. Sitting aldermen have amassed more than $19 million in their campaign war chest. These funds can be used for advertisements, flyers, offices, canvassers, and legal fees. The most well-equipped current alderman? Ed Burke, who has more than $11.5 million ready for re-election. As a parting gift in October of 2018, Mayor Rahm Emanuel decided to hand out checks for $20,000 to a few dozen aldermanic allies who actually remain anonymous.
We have raised about $32,000.
We have raised $41,000 for my campaign.
It's about around $7,000, $8,000.
We've spent $6,000.
So far, we've spent about maybe $15,000.
Would you consider running for alderman a privilege?
I have the privilege to run because I have access, I have the education, and I have the self-sufficiency, meaning I have financially I feel stable.
Running for office when you have money and you are well connected, you could call that definitely a privilege. There's people that are born and groomed and connected, and it is a privilege for them. For working class people in the city, running for office is a necessity, it's urgent.
Part of the reason why I said yes and decided to do it was because I think more of us who can run should run, because it is a privilege, and specifically because we need to open up this space for local elected office for more people to be able to do it. So it shouldn't be this difficult, it shouldn't cost so much money, and it shouldn't be so secretive.
If you care enough about where you live and your energy and your heart is in the direction of upward mobility for wherever you're living in the city of Chicago, it is your civic duty and it is your right to want to work for the greater good. So no, it's not a privilege, it's an absolute right.
Fight the power! Fight the power! Fight the power! Fight the power! Fight the power!
We are the Chicagoist. Good night.
Fight the power!